It's a 50's Tribute, 2016 model. The original owner has had a set of these installed in it, so these are the original pickups to it, which is a 490R, 498T set. But these sound like a barking dog. They're amazing. These are great pickups, and from what I understand from the research I've done, they're over 300 bucks. So the owner would be into this guitar for 1,400 bucks total. And I paid 600 because it's a really good time right now to buy a guitar for some reason, because the used market is just terrible. Nobody's buying used guitars. So anybody who really wants to sell is basically giving away their guitar. I got rid of my Strat. I was waiting on an upgrade for it that never materialized, and so time to move on, because this is what I really prefer anyway. And I really like this guitar, and I don't plan to do any upgrades to it, but the one thing that is driving me a little bit crazy is 9-gauge strings. So these gotta come off. And it's gonna get a little cleanup. So the previous owner told me, really nice fella, he's been trying to sell this for a few weeks. The previous owner had it up for, I think, $1,000 for quite a while, which is a bit of a cheeky price for it, but you know, a negotiable price. The way I look at that is that that's like sort of the top end of what this would be worth in its configuration, because these are quite expensive pickups. And I would personally include those in the value of this guitar, particularly if the original pickups are being supplied with the deal. Right? To me, that's kind of how I look at these, the value of these upgrades now. The trouble is with upgrades and value is they're worth more taken out of the guitar than they are in the guitar. Like these pickups, he probably could have sold these for a couple $100, 150 bucks, really easily, probably really quickly. But they didn't increase the overall value of the guitar by that much putting them in there. But they were absolutely a factor in why I jumped on buying this guitar. At $600, this was a good deal even if it was stock. At $600 Canadian, like these sell for $1,200 now. 2016 this would have sold for probably $1,100. So they've gone up about 100 bucks. But now they sell for $1,200. And I think the difference is you get covered pickups now. But anyway, this guitar is in really good condition. It's actually set up pretty well, which is great. It's unusual for used guitars. But the one complaint that the guy had, and I think the one thing that was making him get rid of it, was he said he couldn't keep it in tune. And coincidentally, as soon as he saw me at the door, he's like, "Oh, I know who you are. I've seen you on YouTube." And I was like, "Uh-oh. Hopefully this isn't a guy who hates my YouTube videos." But he was really cool. So anyway, the point of which is, he was like, "Yeah, I knew somebody like you would be able to work out whatever was wrong with this and make it work." And at first I thought, oh yeah, you know, I'll just go down the usual route of probably swapping out the tuners and stuff like that. But the real thing, the real issue the real point I want to make is, like nearly 99% of guitars that I touch, like most guitars that I touch, these tuners, when I got the guitar, were falling off. What I did when I got it was I just loosened the strings, and I went in there with a 10mm wrench and I tightened them up as best I could, and it was immediately 100 times better. So now I'm just gonna give them one last little snug up, just so that they're not wiggling around in there, and they work quite loose. And that's not uncommon, so just check them every time you change your strings. Just check them. Right? It's not like there's any Loctite or anything on there keeping those from coming loose, right? Lots of vibration plus no Loctite equals this can de-thread itself over time. And that's what happens. All right, so the only other thing I want to do, because this is actually set up pretty well and really clean, there's just a little bit of scale on these frets just from sitting around. And what I found recently is just Crimson Guitars fret rubber. This is the fine one. Just a few quick strokes over the top. Just get that little bit of scale off. And they're great. That's all. This is my little touch up in between, like every time I change strings. When I change strings, I just give it a few quick little how you doings over top of each fret. And it's just maintaining a good clean fret from there on in. Like I could go to the trouble of, polishing them really shiny, which I would probably do if I was really dressing these, but for just quick maintenance, it's nice to have that silky smooth bending surface over top of your fret. And that's all I'm gonna do to them, and they'll look great. I'll see if I can get a better shot of this here. Like these are already in pretty good condition, but there's a little bit of scale from just sitting there. And I don't really need to put anything, like I just need to be careful. This isn't really gonna hurt your fingerboard. There's not much abrasive on there. It's like probably a 2,000 or 3,000 grit, I would say. And then it just brings up the fret really nice. But these are already pretty good, so this is just a quick little how you doing. And then we'll get another little sound test of her. But yeah, that's really it. I mean, the nut on this has been cut really well. You can always tell by looking at a nut if it's been cut properly. Right? None of those slots are so deep that the guitar string is going to sit down in them. And that's the key. Okay, here we go. So this is sort of the key of it, right? Making sure that it's been cut towards the headstock in the same angle, which is 17 degrees. You don't have to get a protractor out or anything by any means, but also the strings shouldn't be buried in the slots. And I can tell just by looking at this, it's been properly cut, and you can feel when you play it. So I don't have to do anything to that. That's how I would cut it. That's how I would leave it. All right, we're all set. Little cloth here, cleaned already the fingerboard. Let's get some oil on it. And mes amis, we're going from a set of 9 gauge strings to what I now like on my Les Pauls and Les Paul style guitars. So that should be quite a shock for the neck, which means I'm going to want to take the truss rod cover off. This will also go a long way to keeping the guitar in much better tune. Heavier strings will stay in tune better. Well, I'll tell you what, it plays absolutely fine. So this is more of a sanity check than anything. Because when it had 9s on it, the strings sort of felt like they were flopping around a bit. And I reckon that is probably because there wasn't enough neck relief. So I'm going to hazard a guess now that the neck has... could be tightened up actually. So, righty tighty, lefty loosey. So I want to come this way. Give it a little of a smidgy. Smidge more. And smidge more. Now you're playing ball. Yeah, it's perfect. It's all good now. All good in the hood. Ready to roll. Just put the truss rod cover back on and give her a rip.